Hey, feeling good, like I should. When in dark, I walk around the neighborhood. Feeling blessed, never stressed. Got that sunshine on my Sunday best.
Welcome back, everybody. Happy Sunday. You're listening to Whatever Works on KCAA 1050 AM and Express 106.5 FM. I'm your host, Sam Works.
I'm Kyle Kerrigan.
And I am Jay Guevara.
Yes, you guys know who this guy is. And if you guys don't know, he's going to introduce himself here in just a few moments. But I do want to say happy holidays to everyone out there.
Happy holidays.
Happy Sunday. And Kyle, you know what time it is?
Sponsor time. SNJRadio.com. No negative news, no politics, just feel good music.
Yes, and if you guys do want to be a sponsor as well on this show, you guys can always hit us up on Instagram, emails, whatever. Just type in KCAA, whatever works. Speaking of Jay Gasai and
Yeah.
Jay No Gasai,
We got the Jays in the building now.
yes. So if you guys want to call in or make any comments, questions, or concerns, call in at this number.
888-909-1050. That is 888-909-1050.
Yes. Now Jay has been on our show a while back, and I know he's been doing a lot of amazing things ever since. So that's why we have him on the show this week. And we just want to catch up a little bit. So, Jay, introduce yourself for the people who don't know you.
Well, for the people that don't know me, I'm Jay, not Kasai, but Jay Guevara, poet, publicist for the Legion Media Group, aspiring writer, health nut, if you will. Like, I'm really big into fitness, so that just encapsulates who I am.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Actually, when I saw you walk in today, I was like, hey, his chest is looking a little big and stuff. And if you guys are watching us live, or if you guys are not watching us live, I'm wearing this Santa, little Santa's favorite
cute.
costume.
I
Yeah.
love it.
And we got Mrs. Santa's Claus over here. We're just at a white elephant party, so excuse that mess. But anyways,
Really, really festive. I love it.
yeah, thank you. And actually, this is going to be our last show for the year.
Yep.
Next week is going to be Christmas Eve, so we won't be here live in the studio. And the week after is obviously New Year's.
New Year's, yeah.
So,
So studio will be gone.
yes, but we got a couple people lined up in the following year. I'm super excited. We got big plans, and I know you got big plans as well. Don't know what they are yet, but this is why we're here to find out what's going on in your life. So,
Yeah. So can we talk about the last time we met?
we can talk about whatever you
Yeah,
want,
let's
whatever
Yeah.
works.
So the last time we saw each other was at the Inland Empire Awards.
Yes,
The first
yeah.
of its kind.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I have to get y'all's thoughts about it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely something that was new for me. You know, I've always envisioned something like that for the IE. You know, have an award show, because there's a lot of talent that isn't recognized, and that's, you know, talk to Cody about it. We talk about it all the time. You know, there's a lot of people who get looked over, whether it's rappers, whether it's artists. You know, just people just coming up. And I thought it was a really creative and a really good way to, you know, show that talent and show, you know, what everyone's been working on. You know, big things. You know, everything up from Hit Boy all the way down. So I thought it was, you know, amazing, and I'm blessed. Thank you, Jay, for the invite, by the way.
Jake Kasai's in the building, by the way, guys. Just gotta let you know.
Yeah.
And honestly, on my end, I mean, everything has a trend, right? Everything has like their hot moments in life, and like you said, the Inland Empire hasn't had that moment yet, but it's building up, it's boiling, you know, and it's gonna happen. It's gonna pop off. Everyone that's gonna be there has already made it there, and we're just, you know, waiting for everyone to come out. And I never expected, A, for myself to be at a music award, or B, you know, having the honors to go up there and like give an award first of all. So it was just like,
No, it was amazing.
you can mark that off my bucket list. It wasn't even on my bucket list, but then I put it on and then I scratched it off. Like it was something like that, you know, because that's something that, like, a lot of people, they have what they want in their, like, what they vision in their minds and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we try to follow that path, but then, you know, blessings just come left and right. you know, and that definitely was one of them. And I just never thought I would be a part of it. So I'm really glad I was. And you were there too. So what were your thoughts?
Yeah, so I was one out of the only two non-SoCal natives, non-IE natives for that matter, to actually be a part of the award show.
Yeah.
For the new listeners and the returning listeners that probably knows this already, I'm from Southside Richmond, Virginia, born and raised, moved out here like almost 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So to really talk with the people that grew up in this region and how much it meant to them, man,
Yeah,
like
there's a lot of history here.
man, like I felt those emotions as if like I grew up on Waterman, you know,
Yeah.
like I'm like
It's heavy, huh?
man,
It's,
like
there's
this
a
is
lot.
beautiful. And
Yeah.
then back when I was in Virginia, like I was a part of like some smaller award shows anyway, so like I already knew the impacts that it could have towards a community for that
Right.
matter. Because where I come from in the Inland Empire, they face similar issues, but also have similar talents, if you will. So yeah, like I felt really right at home with it and definitely enjoyed it for sure.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
definitely.
you like you said, you came here like what 2 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and you're already putting your mark down over here on this side on the West Coast.
Yeah.
So what are some big impacts that you've done and that you've been that you're working on?
So that actually started back in 2018.
Mm.
And I think I talked about it during the first interview, but if not, I'll talk about it here. So while I was still in Virginia, I was covering Inland Empire artists on Virginia-based platforms
Right.
and actually fought in a metaphorical sense with some of the head editors and business owners like, hey, are y'all guys just trying to be local or are y'all trying to have a national outreach, if you will? So I remember the very first IE artist I covered in particular was Cam Archer, Inside Voices, on this website at the time called Henny and Coke. And then after that, covered this artist Joe Sweatpants and his Getting Out of Bed Is Hard album. And then in 2021, like before I even visited out here, like I was constantly covering people like Jay Kasai, Curtis King, Noah James, Champagne Adamus, and many more people, like before I even moved out here. So
Yeah.
like when I was visiting California all throughout 2021, people was like, hey, I know you. I'm like, hey, I think I know you. Who are you?
Right.
But yeah, you know, like,
Yeah.
so now that I'm living here and it'll be 2 years in June, it's really just getting more involved in the community. Like earlier this year, I was performing poetry at Cal Poly Pomona, thanks to the first ever poet laureate Judah One, and now he has a residency over there. And how that bond was even created, he knew the poet laureate in Richmond, Roscoe Burnhams, who was my old slam poetry coach, ironically enough. So I'm like, dang, like this poetry stuff really goes deep. But I was first introduced to Judah through a very good friend of mine, Tangent, and Tangent plays a great part in my journey out here. So Tangent introduced me to him and a couple of other people during like my visits and even during the first few months when I was out here. So yeah, now for next year, just the plans I have, honestly, we'll just see what really happens, you know, like get more involved in the next Inland Empire Award show. I mean, the only Empire Now award show.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Getting involved in Thought Fest again next year, hopefully, because one of my clients, Joel Santana, headlined Thought Fest in Ontario. So that was right down the street from me, and it felt really great to not drive like an hour or an hour and a half anywhere.
Yeah,
When I
definitely.
could just go right down the street and do my work, hang out, catch up with people, and get out. But shout out to 60 East for sure with Thought Fest.
So this media company that you work for now is different from the one you worked for back then when we last interviewed, right?
No,
Is
actually.
it the same one?
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes.
where has your growth been since, working for them then and working for them now? Like, where do you feel like you've improved the most when talking to artists?
I definitely felt like I improved not just as a writer, but more so of a publicist and handling like crazy clients or odd situations in real time.
So it's like the customer service aspect a little bit.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
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 yeah.
And just honestly being a bit more formal with things, like even though I could get business done and things done, you know, there's certain ways to be like, hey, like this guy really means business rather than him just being the homie, you know. So
Right, exactly.
just having that difference. But overall, like just growing as a writer, growing as a professional, because that's like one of the many different side gigs that I've done. And I remember last year when I was here,
Yeah.
I was talking about my journey on becoming a full-time writer, right?
Right.
Because even though the PR company is great and all, it doesn't necessarily cover all the bills. So at that point, when y'all interviewed me the day before Halloween,
Yeah, I remember that.
like
yeah.
yeah, like I was doing a bunch of different hustles. So in September of this year, I actually accomplished that goal of being a
Oh,
full-time
congrats.
writer for a publishing company that's non-music industry related. And I got laid off like right before the start of this month. So
Wow.
yeah, so that was a bummer for sure. But I was like, well, like I've been here before, so like I'll get it again.
Yeah.
But this time it's different because I finally got over that hurdle of being a full-time writer. And just tying it back to the first interview, I told y'all from 2015 through 2022, I balanced a career in the health field and a career in communications.
Yeah.
And then I took that dive to being in communications full time. And I'm grateful for the Legion Media Group to actually help me develop more of a communications career for sure. And working with a lot of different clients too, man. Like
Yeah.
it's great. Like one of my favorite recent clients that I worked with was with sports journalist Andreas Hale, animation writer Jonathan Davenport, and WWE superstar Big E.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, man.
Yeah.
So they did like a film premiere called Our Heroes Rock. So
Okay.
think of a modern day Schoolhouse Rock that
Oh,
covers
okay.
like the lesser known like black activists and celebrities like throughout the years.
Right.
So they premiered that at the Urban World Film Festival back in November. Had to do a bit of press for them and just regular PR stuff. But I was like, man, this is great because one,
Yeah.
I'm a big wrestling head. Two, it's something that's non-music related. So I'm like, dang, like this is
So
really great.
it's a different take, sharpening your skills in like different categories.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So like, in case if I ever get into public relations, like outside of music, you know, I'm like, hey, like I did something in film. Like, although it's art and entertainment media, regardless,
Right.
you know, like that's still something pretty cool to say.
Definitely.
And just one more client I'll get into, Cameron and Mace with their
Oh,
sports show.
okay.
It is what it is, man. Like,
That's amazing.
man, literally seeing that go from ground zero, from like the initial work chat
Yeah.
to what it is now, man, I love it.
Would you say that you had any part of that, like development or growth for them, or
For the most part, it was their organic chemistry
Yeah.
and how they included a 22-year-old NAACP award-winning journalist, Stat Baby, being the moderator, which is also really great to have that female balance in as well,
Yeah.
and also provide her own insight and also allow her to grow with her own show that's on a weekly basis every Friday called Check Out the Stat.
Okay.
Handling sports PR has been very interesting, and
Yeah.
it was also a first for my boss, right? Just like outside of like WWE, that's like sports entertainment, right?
Right.
So there's sports entertainment and then there's sports, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, getting into sports PR, seeing what we could do with certain brands and whatnot in the sports realm, that's been very different, and it's still an ongoing thing.
you know, you telling your story, it really sounds like, you know, you're just willing to accept anything that comes your way. Like every door that's opening, you're walking right through it, you know. And you have like this lifestyle where like you met this person, you done this. It's like, you know, you didn't really just spear into one specific thing in life. Like it is like, you know, journaling or whatever, but like at the same time you're branching out and you're accepting anything that comes like in front of you, which is honestly really cool because a lot of people, they don't see that. They don't acknowledge the doors that are open for them, you know?
Yeah, and I think a recent event that helped me out even more to become more flexible, to become more adjustable, was actually making that move out here. Like I moved out here without a job, like, and just going back to Tangent earlier, if it wasn't for him allowing me to crash on his couch while I was getting my bearings together, because like I got an Airbnb for 2 weeks and I had no other plan after that.
It's probably expensive. Airbnb for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's like all your money right there. You're like, all right, we'll see what happens.
Oh wait, hang on. So let me give y'all the timeline for it. So the dream health job I had, I got laid off in March of 2022. I was living off of my savings, waiting for unemployment through the Virginia Employment Commission, and didn't get any of that somehow, some way, even though I proved everything. But I digress. So I was living off of savings and stocks. While like I was applying for jobs out here, trying to look for places out here, because I really wanted to make things work with my woman and to also develop a greater sense of community out here, to open up a new chapter in life and to also close a very near and dear chapter of my time in Virginia. So I'm like, okay, I want to make this relationship stuff work with this woman in general. I have community out here. And I remember just shaking in my room at like May, because I had to move out by like late June. And I'm like, man, just saying every explicative, because I hate asking for help. I really do. I'm a very self-sufficient person. I despise it. So I texted Tangent, like after just breathing, hey, I need your help. And he's like, I got you. You can. And it was initially for a month, but like I stayed on this couch from July to December. And I moved from North Endino to the suburbs in Upland.
There you go.
And it's been over a year. So I'm like, man, this is such a wild experience. I never thought I would live close to the mountains as an urban guy myself, because Richmond, Virginia is like a 1/64th version of Brooklyn, New York. Man, it's been a interesting year. Like if I literally go on my Instagram right now and just go through stuff I've done this year, man, look.
And that's what I did actually before I showed up here. I went on your Instagram. I was just checking you out, you know. I saw our post and I was like looking, okay, what has he done since our post? And honestly, it seems like you've done a lot.
Yeah, so all right, so ever since then, more poetry. My birthday, January 30th. Wale Mania. Well, showed up to Wale Mania. The funniest thing about that.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah. So the year before, my very first assignment as an intern for Legion, because like when I got laid off from my full-time health job in March of 2022, I was interning for the PR company I'm with now.
Right.
My very first assignment was doing PR work for Wale Mania.
Oh, okay.
So it was a full circle moment, really big as a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
Got invited to a big art gallery event by rapper IDK for his album launch of F65. Stayed there. It was a fantastic art gallery. Left right before Music Soul Child came out to perform. I'm like, no! Because I love Music Soul Child. I love his albums, man. And especially his recent one that he did with Hit Boy, Victims and Villains. man, I was like, no, I missed out on them. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But like IDK is like a industry homie, man. Like it's always great catching up with them. Performed poetry at the LA County Fair.
Okay.
Again, shout out Judo One for that. That was amazing. And it was also my first time at the LA County Fair.
There you go.
So I'm like, oh, this is dope. Got invited by the Grammy Museum for like a private film screening. Empire had their brunch during BET weekend. Met the owner of Empire, Ghazi, Elliot Wilson, who's been in the press a lot lately.
Yeah.
One of my favorite journalists ever. Like, if I had to list like a top 3, top 5, like journalistic influences, Elliot is definitely up there for sure. Thought Fest, Domogenesis listening party.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit.
Like the Domo album is produced by Grey Matter, who's from where I'm from.
Yeah, Richmond, right?
Mm-hmm. Except I grew up in Southside Richmond, and Grey Matter grew up in the West End. And the artists he have on there, Fly Anakin, he grew up where I grew up, just literally right down the street from me in the same hood. Three-Way Slim, who's also on the album, he grew up in the West End. They're actually having a show out in Long Beach right now. And I almost went to it, actually. But, like, something told me back in August, like, let me hold off on this.
Right.
And then now here I am. Like, I'm right here. Thought Fest, Complex Con.
Complex Con,
Yeah, so can I talk about my 2 experiences with Complex Con?
Let's hear it.
Let's go.
All right, so boom. So the first year I went to Complex Con, showed up late. Both times it was for Jim Jones being on a top 10 sneakers of the year panel, right? So the first year we were unable to go out to the convention floor because we were running late from a no jumper interview. So our no jumper interview with Jim and Jewels went over time. So we had to drive an hour from their location to Long Beach and had to do our thing. It was real get in, real get out type of thing. Met Jadakiss. His laugh is the same as you would hear it on like the vocals. But this year, right? So like we showed up early and I'm like, okay, I'm able to go out on the convention floor. It smelled like weed, mint vape pens, and overpriced Stussy.
That's funny.
But it was really dope because I was wearing some Virginia clothing, Chilele. People from Round 2, which is like a sneakers and streetwear clothing line, saw me and was like, hey, like I took photos of like your jacket and sent it to the owners, Earl and Nico. And I'm like, I know Earl and Nico from Chilele. And Round 2, they're actually from where I'm from also, Richmond, Virginia. But they had a store out in L.A., like literally right on Melrose near the Whole Lotta Cough Syrup shop. But they closed that to focus more on like their warehouse out in Carson and their other shop in Chicago. Their Richmond shop actually closed up in 2020 due to the protests and people were breaking in and blah, blah, blah. It is what it is. Their New York one is still open, to my knowledge. But yeah, like I saw Round 2 literally come up from out of nowhere. So I grew up as Round 2 was growing up at the same time. So yeah, like it was really great seeing a lot of Virginia people for sure.
Do you ever look back and think about Virginia? Like you're like so in tuned with like California and you're doing all these major events and you're out here just being the star that you are. You ever think back about Virginia? Think back at home?
Yeah. And shoot, like I literally talk to my twin and a close friend Rodney every day about stuff that's like going on in Virginia. Like the Washington Wizards and the Washington Capitals, they're actually moving from the Capital One arena in DC right across the Potomac River that separates DC from Virginia.
Yeah,
so
it's supposed to be like a $6 billion metropolitan area they're building around it too, right?
Yeah. So they're building it in Alexandria. Alexandria It's the third wealthiest area in the United States.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So
that's gonna
like,
be.
it'll be really nice. Now, I don't know if they're gonna rebrand to the Virginia Wizards, which sounds crazy in retrospect,
Yeah.
or the Virginia Capitals, because the Washington Commanders, they play 25 minutes east of DC out in Landover, Maryland. So it might be like that situation, like, oh, we
Yeah.
represent DC, but we play outside of DC.
Probably, yeah.
So so that'll be interesting. I'm not too optimistic about it because most Virginia businesses, to my knowledge, usually stay for 5 to 6 years and then they either rebrand to something else or they close. Like a lot of my favorite restaurants back home closed up this year. And I'm like, what?
Oh man,
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I'm like, dang, like by the time I come back and visit at some point next year, like,
Yeah.
It's not gonna be the same.
yeah. So man, like it's wild. But also history. A lot of people don't know that Virginia once had an official basketball team called the Virginia Squires, which had Rick Barry, Dr. J, Julius Irving, Charlie
Really?
Scott that played on the Suns and Celtics during the 70s,
Yeah.
and George Gervin, legendary Spurs and Bulls player. And they had him from 1970 to 1976.
Oh, okay.
And they closed up. But they played out in Hampton, Richmond, Norfolk, and I think Newport News. So like they was just bouncing around from city to city playing in like different stadiums. And then once the NBA ABA merger happened, because that was a big deal back
Yeah.
in '76, because Dr. J was the face of the ABA. Dave Collins, who was on the Celtics, was the face of the NBA.
Right.
Hey Joe, we got a call. Okay.
Yeah, so they merged together. So we'll see what happens with Virginia.
Yeah, there's a lot of
All that.
interesting things happening in sports right now.
Yeah.
Like I heard they're putting a team back in Seattle.
Hmm?
Yeah, you didn't hear about that?
Wait, as in the basketball team?
As
Because
the basketball
like
team.
I'm a diehard Supersonics and like Charlotte Hornets fan
I don't
because
know
of
if it's
NBA
gonna be
Jam.
the
Don't.
Supersonics.
All right, hey, let me put you on pause real quick because we got
All right.
someone calling in. Hey, you're on the air.
Hey, what's up, KCA?
How we doing?
How's it going?
None too much. My name is Daniel, calling from Maryland, not too far from Virginia. I just have one
Hey.
quick, just have one quick question that I want to ask Jay while he's on.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jay, I know that you started your career in terms of PR and media in Richmond, and a couple of years ago, you moved from Richmond to California.
Mm-hmm.
And so my question that I have for you is, what are some tips that you can give to someone that'll help them connect with employers and higher-ups, such as your experience with connecting with Ghazi and Wale Mania?
Start before you move. Like, start before you move. If you visit, well, if you're able to visit to another state, like I did, like I visited California 4 times before I moved out here. And that helped me, like, instill the seeds of where I need to be or the people that I needed to meet up with. And like it all starts from a simple message. Some people prefer email, some people prefer DM.
Right.
So just start out that way. If you're able to visit or meet them somewhere, like let's say they're having something in DC, you pull up to that event in DC.
Yeah.
Just meet up, exchange contact information,
Yeah,
and
just start
sometimes
networking, right?
yeah, and sometimes people prefer email or phone or social media. So I would go about it that way, honestly.
Okay. Yeah, I was just genuinely just wondering, just because for someone like me, I'm currently in college at the moment. I'm
Mhm.
about to finish up with my bachelor's in mass comm. And so with the job market being so tight right now with where I'm living, it's really difficult to make those approaches and find a job. And so I just want to come on and just really get to not only hear your story, but just get to wonder how you were able to connect with these higher ups. Because your journey is so interesting and amazing, and I'm really glad I'm getting the chance to listen to it right now. And I just want to say thank you so much, KCEA Radio, for answering my question. I'm going to definitely listen in until the end of this night. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for calling in.
Yes, and actually,
problem.
it is half past the hour, so we're going to take a 5-minute break. Thank you again for calling in. You guys are listening to Whatever Works on KCAA 106.5 FM and 1050 AM. We'll be right back in about 5 minutes.
All right. Thank you so much.
Anytime.
Hey, feeling good, like I should. When in dark, I walk around the neighborhood. Feeling blessed, never stressed. Got that sunshine on my Sunday best.
From the Bureau of Economic Geology, this is Earth Date. When did our ancestors leave the trees and begin to lead a life on solid ground? Some real-life CSI has given us a big clue. Lucy, the 3-million-year-old skeleton of one of our oldest known human relatives, was recently on a museum tour of the United States. During her visit, University of Texas scientists examined her skeleton with geological CT scanners, similar to medical CAT scans, but with higher resolution. Fossil bones often break as they're buried, but Lucy's upper arm showed something unusual. It was compressed, with sharp fracture lines and tiny bone fragments intact. The team called in an orthopedic surgeon who confirmed that this injury in modern humans only occurs when they extend their arms to try to break a fall from considerable height. So they began to look for other fracture evidence of a fall and found it in her ankle, knee, pelvis, and ribs. They then looked to modern chimpanzees, which are about the same size as Lucy. Chimps nest in trees at heights of up to 35 feet, high enough that a fall could result in the same type and degree of fracturing found in Lucy. Further studies using the CT data showed that her ratio of arm strength to leg strength was more like chimps than humans. Both findings suggest that 3 million years ago, our ancestors may have lived a significant part of their lives in trees. I'm Scott Tinker, and this has been your Date with Earth.
Earth Date is produced by the Bureau of Economic Geology at the University of Texas at Austin. Earth Date is researched by Julie Hennings, written by Harry Lynch, and distributed by Mark Blunt and Casey Walker. For more stories, follow us on Facebook or visit earthdate.org.
Tahibo Tea Club's original Pure Pau Diarco Super Tea helps build red corpuscles in the blood, which carry oxygen to our organs and cells. Our organs and cells need oxygen to regenerate themselves. The immune system needs oxygen to develop, and cancer dies in oxygen. So the tea is great for healthy people because it helps build the immune system, and it can truly be miraculous for someone fighting a potentially life-threatening disease due to an infection, diabetes, or cancer. The tea is also organic and naturally caffeine-free. A 1-pound package of tea is $49.95, which includes shipping. To order, please visit TahiboTeaClub.com. Tahibo is spelled T like Tom, A-H-E-E, B like boy, O, then continue with the word tea, and then the word club. The complete website is TahiboTeaClub.com. Or call us at 818-610-8088, Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. California time. That's 818-610-8088, TahiboTeaClub.com.
Hi, I'm food critic Alan Borgen, and I'm excited to tell you about Ray's Shanghai Bistro, located next to Redlands DMV on Lagonia in Redlands. Ray's Shanghai Bistro offers the largest and most delicious array of traditional and original Chinese dishes available in the Inland Empire. Some of my favorite dishes are the house-made pot stickers, the crisp pork spare ribs with garlic, their unique spicy lamb with bamboo, the sweet and tangy deep-fried orange peel beef, and the savory basil spicy shrimp, plus lots of vegetarian dishes. Whether you dine in, pick up the food, or have them cater your next party or special occasions, you will see why Ray's, spelled R-U-I'-S, Shanghai Bistro, is truly the best Chinese restaurant in the Inland Empire. Their website is raisshanghhaibistro.net. That's raisshanghhaibistro.net. RUIS shanghhaibistro.net. Happy eating. You won't be disappointed.
Del Walmsley here. The first thing you're going to have to learn is that until you stop expecting our politicians or anyone else to change your life isn't going to change. The only person who can change your life is you, but you need to know how. Listen to my show, the Del Walmsley Radio Show, where the hype ends and the help begins. Right here on KCAA, now broadcasting on 1050 AM and 106.5 FM, the stations that leave no listener behind.
Hey, Sammy.
Hey, feeling good, like I should. When in dark, I walk around the neighborhood. Feeling blessed, never stressed. Got that sunshine on my Sunday best. Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody. Happy Sunday. You're listening to Whatever Works on KCAA 1050 AM and Express 106.5 FM. I'm your host, Sam Works.
I'm Kyle Kerrigan.
And this is Jay Guevara.
Yes, and tonight we actually kind of have a full house in the studio. There's a lot of people in this room, so let's get cracking on this. I just want to make sure if you guys are just tuning in, we have Jay Guevara here. He's one of our past guests. I was gonna say client, our client.
Yeah.
Past guest with a full adventure, moving from the East Coast to the West Coast. Meeting with some of the top people in the Inland Empire. And I don't even know it. Did you realize that, who you were, speaking with, or were you just reaching out to, just people out here trying to make something?
Honestly, just reaching out to people, because prior to moving out here, I met all of my idols already. And, celebrities to me are just regular people with a higher tax bracket. I mean, regular people in a higher tax bracket and a larger spotlight. So I don't let the celebrity and fame stuff get to me too much. And I could actually count off of my hand the 3 times I ever, quote unquote, fanned out, right? And I'll actually tell you.
Yeah, you fanned out a couple times. That's cool.
Yeah. So the first time was in 2019. Battle rapper Mike P during a huge 3-day Smack URL weekend, and I was just literally on stage with them during the last battle, right, of the event. And I was like, yo, Mike P, I used to watch your battles in high school. You're dope, blah blah blah. And the battle rap community is a very fun group, and I do miss going to battle rap events every month. But it is what it is. Then the 2 other times happened this year, actually. So I saw Rob Van Dam outside of the Novo. And
oh, man. That must have been great.
Oh, man. So, this was, as my woman and I were leaving Wale Mania, and I was like, yo, Rob, you're the man. And he's like, dude, you're the man too. And I was like, oh my god, yes. And I felt like I was back in SmackDown vs. Raw 2006, because Rob Van Dam was a pivotal character in the season mode. So I was like, yeah. And then Complex Con, Sean Evans from Hot Ones, awesome guy.
Oh man,
and
that's amazing.
I walked up to talk to the moderator Joe of the Jim Jones sneaker panel, and I kept it brief with Sean, and Sean was real nice with everything, got a picture, and I was like, dude, I'm such a huge fan. Yeah. But just going back to your question, I'm like, okay, I don't see anyone above me or below me, you're just a person to me at the ending of the day. And I know that sounds blunt, that sounds kind of crazy, but it's all right. But also just talking to people, I don't know most of these SoCal cats at the time from a can of paint. So I'm like, okay, let me learn about you. and let me see what you do. Like, I'll share my story because obviously I'm not from here. I don't look like I'm from here. I don't talk like I'm from here. So, like, let's learn each other. And I got a lot of bonds, friendships, camaraderies, whatever you want to call it, just because.
You know, it's crazy because the person who called in right before we went on break, he asked you, like, how did you reach out to these people? How did you get in these connections with these higher heads? And you're like, you just reach out. You know, some people prefer emails, some people prefer DM. And it's like, it sounds so simple, but yet a lot of people can't break through that, you know?
Yeah.
Dr. Marissa, she has a show on Wednesday mornings. I think it's every morning now at this point. And she interviews, you know, actors and artists and singers and songwriters. And she said the same thing. She says, just reach out.
Yeah.
You know? And a lot of people think that these higher heads are, like, untouchable, unreachable, you know? And it's like, I'll never have that chance to, like, to talk to that person or be around that person.
Yeah. So I'll also talk about how I even learned about the PR company I'm with. So funny enough, a connection of mine from Richmond, Virginia, right? Like, I'd done a lot of events with him, ciphers, did press for his battle rap events, monthly events where it's kind of like, MTV Raps pretty much. Radio B. So he sent me this invite to this Peter Rosenberg Real Late Media Day. And it was virtual because it was 2021 COVID, blah, blah, blah. And the Real Late album featured Fly Anakin, which I mentioned earlier, and one of my all-time favorite rappers, and just a brother of mine, man, Nicholas F. So they were on the Peter Rosenberg album, and Gray Matter, which I mentioned when we was talking about Domo's album.
Yeah.
He also produced on that album for Method Man. So I'm like, oh, okay, this is one big Richmond affair, right? So, like, and I got the contact information of his publicist, which is now my boss. And I initially wanted to interview Peter, but, like, sometimes you got to learn when it's the right time for an interview, blah, blah, blah. And for me, as an aspiring full-time writer, like, I just wanted to build up my portfolio. Like, I wanted to build up my interviewing skills. And I was, like, a random February, I was like, okay, who can I interview that's not like a radio show host, who's not a rapper or a singer? Let me go ahead and interview Peter's publicist. So I interviewed her, right? And that interview took off.
Yeah.
And I found out that they had internships opening up. So during the interview process, the other co-boss, Ian, was like, so how did you learn about us? I'm like, I interviewed your business partner.
Honestly, that makes sense. If you can't talk to the main person, then you just talk to their affiliates and then just work your way in. You get closer into the person that you want to be with.
Yeah, so, like, all in all, it's been a very great experience.
Yeah.
I never thought I would be doing PR with Dipset, and it's very funny because Dipset played a very pivotal role in my childhood, as they were on the soundtrack to Fight Night Round 3, which is a classic boxing video game to me.
Yeah.
And it was the only video game I used to bet money on and fight people for 30 seconds in case if, like, someone intentionally disqualifies, because you could throw elbows and low blows in the game, right, for, like, extra damage. But sometimes myself and 11 other friends playing on a big TV on a PS2, like, so, like, sometimes, like, that would happen, and we was like, well, we got to go ahead and run a fade or shoot the 30, you know, and then be like, oh, my God.
Shoot to 30.
Who's next? And, every year since, like, middle school, my twin and I, we would blast like the Dipset Christmas album and whatnot. And
Okay.
yeah, Jim Jones actually dropped his deluxe edition of the Vamp Life 12 Days of Christmas album.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he
I'll
actually
have to
dropped
check
that
it
on
out.
Friday. Yeah, so he's still killing it with the holiday albums. And the other album that my twin and I would listen to during the holidays was the Bad Santa soundtrack that had Mike Epps narrating it, and it had a lot of Joel Santana and Jim Jones and a bunch of the Bird Gang affiliates on it.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, like Dipset's been a staple in my life, so I just find it funny. Like
How things kind of go full circle.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
Jim is great, man. Like Jim is really great. Joel's is pretty cool too, man. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I was in a music video recently with Cam Gnarly.
Oh, nice.
He actually hit me up on last Friday. He said, "Hey, I need a favor. Is there any studio time, like interviews not happening between 5 and 6?" I said, "No, just come through." And he brought his cameraman, and I interviewed him, and he performed a song to me.
Dope.
So
dope.
when that comes out, I'll let you know.
And is it on this new North End Gnarly album that's out now
it's
on
like
all
the
streaming
second or third
platforms?
song from that. Yeah. It's like the second or third song from the album, and so he performed the song to me, so I got to hear it before it came out, and then I did like a quick 5-10 minute interview, and we finished right on time when someone was gonna come and do a show.
I love it. I love it, man. Like Cam Gnarly is such a positive guy. Like throughout the interactions we had in the past 2 years when I was visiting here,
Yeah.
and even now when I lived here, like it's always been love. So
Yeah. I got a question for you. Going back to the writing, I've seen some of the things that you written for other people, and it's really impressive, like the way you write about artists, about people. Just really, I feel like it's like watching a movie, just reading what you write, and so I want to compliment you on that, first of all. But so I can see that you put a lot of work into PR and into artists. So what's the hardest part of the writing process for you?
honestly, trying to work around their content,
Okay.
because in past situations, like I worked with previous drill rap clients before, and drill rap is run them up, done them up, shoot them up,
Yeah.
boot them up type ish. So it's like, okay, how can I spin this into a more positive angle for the major platforms,
Yeah.
And like that's probably the hardest thing, just like depending on the content, because
So-
sometimes I could spin it
Yeah.
into like
So it's like the translation.
yeah
Gotcha.
so like just having that layman's translation into, oh, this is what this person really means,
Yeah.
So yeah, like that's the hardest part, and I had to deal with that with a bunch of other people even before PR, when I would struggle on trying to write a good journalistic perspective
Yeah.
on things. But most of the time I do it well. It's not always guaranteed, but most of the time I can always get something.
Yeah, definitely.
Has there been times where you just felt like it was impossible to work around it or get that contact out?
No, because I could always find something on it. But when you're working with the team, it's like, okay, can you put some additional perspective into this?
Yeah.
And then so everyone has their perspective too.
Yeah.
So it's not like you get that mental block, you have everyone else's brainstorming their minds and everyone working together to really try to, accomplish something.
Exactly. And then if you're working with a team of editors also, like that
Yeah.
also really helps.
I was telling someone today about our show, and I told her, I was like, yeah, we don't have bullet points. We don't take notes in terms of like what questions we're going to ask you.
Yeah.
Because like doing that literally puts a mental block on your thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Like that one time when we had like all these questions lined up, and then this guy he answered them so short with no detail that like it was like 10 minutes in the interview. Me and Kyle looked at each other like we have no more questions lined up.
That was.
And it stopped us. But when you don't have anything written down, you have to be creative. Your mind expands, you know.
Yeah.
And it doesn't stop, you know. But if you have these things down, you're so focused on this that you got like the writer's block or whatever that's called, you know. And that's probably one of the best things about this show, because a lot of people think like, you know, okay, what questions are you gonna ask me? Well, we're just going to have a general conversation.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to open up. We're going to open our minds. We're going to talk about you and your career and how that all, you know, comes together, you know. And I think that's the coolest thing about doing interviews.
Yeah.
It's like, this is like an hour-long date. You know, it's like you come on and I'm like, hey, you know, I'm not asking you, hey, what's your favorite color? I'm asking you, like, how's your work make you feel? You know, what was that transition? Like, the worst thing that happened that you thought was, you know, a negative thing in life actually was a positive thing, you know, like what doors open, what doors closed. And this is great.
Yeah, and I still attribute my humble beginnings of being a former grade school dropout, literally at 8, working in landscaping with power tools.
Yeah.
Thanks to my biological father. He actually passed away in October.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Very suddenly. So yeah, we had a very mixed relationship, but we were able to piece that up early this year after 7-ish years of conflict. And I'll just give y'all like a vivid picture of like what he looked like. So like y'all know who Stone Cold Steve Austin is, right?
Yes, yeah.
So picture a Stone Cold Steve Austin with green eyes and prison tats to where like you could literally tell like it was done by like a sharpened toothbrush.
Stick and poke.
Yeah. So yeah, like he was a really hard worker, although his street life like conflicted with a lot of the things that was going on. But if it wasn't for that tumultuous moment that made my twin and I work in landscaping pretty much, because it was all because of some crazy family issues.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't know. Like, if I would still be like that same headstrong, determined, like goal-oriented person that I am to this day. And just realizing like, yo, like I did him proud. Like we didn't had the best relationship. Like I was able to graduate high school when he got locked up in middle school, and that's how everything started for him. Like my twin, my sister and I, we were first generation high school graduates. My twin and I, first generation college graduates. So to really do him proud, although we didn't have the best situation, I mean, the best relationship, my bad. Like, I left no stone unturned.
Yeah.
By piecing it up earlier in the year. And that just makes me think like, dang, like, how can I be a better man at this point now that I'm out here? How can I be a better friend? How can I be a better relative? How can I be a better lover to my woman? How can I be a better male figure towards my woman's soon to be 8-year-old son? He'll turn 8 like the day after Christmas, you know. These are things that I think about, and then the more that I see him, like the more that it replays back in my mind, like, dang, like I was working with saws and tossing stuff and wood chippers at his age.
Yeah.
So like, you know, how can I like have have a safer impact towards like showing him like, hey, this is someone that has a strong work ethic. This is someone that's working on giving the best for his mom, you know?
But at the same
These
time,
are things that I always think about.
But at the same time, do you feel like you're reliving your childhood by hanging out with him too?
No.
No?
No. My childhood was very insane. very, very insane.
But like,
It's like literally, it's the opposite spectrum. Like
that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. So like for me, I'm like, oh, okay. Like we get along very well with each other. You know,
Yeah.
like literally the first time we met, like right before we left. I mean, dang, right before I left, like the place. And at the time he was 5. Like the mom asked him, oh, so what do you think about him? He said, I like him. That is my best friend. And she was like, what? But you don't like people. And he's like, you're right, I don't. But I like him. And he's a very self-aware, intelligent kid beyond his age already. So, yeah.
Hey, I'm sorry I got to cut this interview short, guys. We are
It's
out
all
of
good.
time. But Jay, I appreciate you coming back on, and there's always more time. You know, there's always
more time.
next
Hang on.
year for sure, you guys. So I just want to say, hey, have a blessed Sunday, everyone. Take care. Stay around for the Ferran Show, and we'll be back in a couple weeks with some more guests and more exciting stories, guys. Take
Can
care.
I say something? Just
Feeling good.
on all social media, just in his prime. They say he's just in his prime. May to be on rapping. If I ever pass my prime, I'm gonna laugh.
Never stressed.
Go ahead and say it. We're all ears. KCAA.
Redlands Ranch Market is a unique full-service international grocery store that specializes in authentic food items from Mexico, India, and from many Mediterranean and Asian countries, including popular items from the U.S. They offer fresh-baked items from their in-house bakery, house-made tortillas from their tortilleria, a delicious array of prepared Mexican foods, a terrific fresh fruit and juice bar, and a large selection of meats, seafoods, and deli sandwiches, salads, and halal meats. Their produce department is stocked full with fresh, local, and hard-to-find international fruits and vegetables that you cannot find anywhere else. Don't forget to stop into the massive Beer Cave and experience the largest selection of domestic, artisan, and imported beers in the IE. They can also cater your next event with one of their delicious takeout catering trays of food. Visit them at RedlandsRanchMarket.com. That's RedlandsRanchMarket.com. Redlands Ranch Market, a unique and fun shopping destination.
Tahibo Tea Club's original Pure Pau Arco Super Tea comes from the only tree in the world that fungus does not grow on. As a result, it naturally has antifungal, anti-infection, antiviral, antibacterial, anti-inflammation, and anti-parasite properties. So the tea is great for healthy people because it helps build the immune system, and it can truly be miraculous for someone fighting a potentially life-threatening disease due to an infection, diabetes, or cancer. The tea is also organic and naturally caffeine-free. A 1-pound package of tea is $49.95, which includes shipping. To order, please visit TahiboTeaClub.com. Tahibo is spelled T like Tom, A-H-E-E-B like boy, O, then continue with the word tea and then the word club. The complete website is TahiboTeaClub.com or call us at 818-610-8088, Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. California time. That's 818-610-8088, TahiboTeaClub.com.
Speedway Transmissions in Ontario knows it's hard being away from home during the holidays, but even harder if you're a soldier overseas securing our freedom. Send letters, packages, and say prayers for our troops overseas. Remember, they're fighting for our freedom. This message courtesy of Speedway Transmissions in Ontario, known for quality, integrity, and knowledgeable service. Call 909-988-9133. Speedway Transmissions, on the air because they care.